MacReady, at the start of the thing, was affected by the dog licking the hand. It's not that that hand actually reached Clark's face, it's that after he gets shot and MacReady comes running over with a bottle of J&B, he goes, hold this. He puts his entire hands on the tip of that bottle where someone would swig. And, well, saliva is atoms. It doesn't have to take a lot for that to get on something. There's a reason that we all go, oh no, oh, don't double dip. That's like putting your mouth around the entire bowl. After that, we almost see later on in the movie that there are a lot of transitional scenes. They all know that they're human, or at least according to the blood test. Because there is no thing except for the one thing left, which is supposed to be Blair, which we also see MacReady take another swig, which at that point he would have been thingified, too much to handle, and even if the alcohol could, well, still on the edge of the rim, that's where mouth connects. That's not where ethanol or anything else actually touches the human form. And I hear you in that when he was cornered, why didn't he actually just change? He has the bundle of dynamite. He just chooses to be in this standoff because he knows that if he changes, that he'll die. That anything that changes has died. It's way better for him to be the human that he is. This constant strategist is always thinking about how he's going to get back to the mainland, not about how he's going to win this game of chess. He's thinking long term, long con. Spill the drink inside the computer? That's MacReady no more. Spill the drink inside the human and infect him for everyone else that's coming. Just to say, I really do think even if both the comic books and the video game are canon, even if they contradict each other at every single point, why is it at the end of the video game we see a man come up with a helicopter that's newly refurbished that he doesn't know how to fix? My only thinking is that he accrued the memories of an engineer in the past by assimilating them and then assimilating MacReady, and MacReady has to act like he doesn't know how to fix a helicopter. Both of these ambiguous endings lead to the same thing. Because what if the human mind is completely the same, replicated cell for cell, until the thing has to spread, sprawl, and attack? Then, even for the characters who are about to turn, you can see their faces sort of twitch as they're like, I don't know what I'm gonna do now. And so the thing takes over, where they panic and they go for the kill. So it never works out, because the weapons of the humans are often stronger. That's why MacReady is holding the strongest weapon for both man and thing, because he's the strongest in that situation, and he wants everyone to know it. Even more still, we all know that Mac's a drinker, and that he's an angry drunk. He doesn't share unless he's bested. And in all of this is where I see the opposite at the end. With a man who's always willing to share a drink with the winner, his computer, I don't think he's thinking that Childs wins at the end. In fact, I think even then, Childs is a thing too, trying to bide his time out in the snow. Once that's done and he sees a fiery explosion, he thinks to himself, maybe they've all killed each other. Maybe they've all ended their own lives. And that's where the end comes in. When one man gives a 40% 80 proof bottle of whiskey, it's almost like he's saying, why don't we just calm down a little? Why don't we just relax, the both of us? Here's a theory that I'm going to exposit about. I don't think MacReady has ever wanted to lose himself inside of the thing. He has always wanted to be his own self-replicated thing. The loner outcast who lives in a cabin up alone because he's the pilot, who likes playing chess alone, doesn't like being in the communal area. We actually get this at the beginning of the movie as we go spanning the entirety of the Arctic base. We're seeing how everyone else is around each other, smoking with each other, playing pool, watching TV. It doesn't matter. They're all doing things communally. But what if the thing wanted to be alone? Something that didn't feel the need to replicate because it understands how dangerous that is. I really do think that Mac is the loner thing who knows that it can replicate just as soon as it can get out of this Arctic wasteland. That if it can just be picked up by another helicopter pilot who will come in spring, then yeah, he can get out. And then the thing will become everything. And I think that's the real horror of the movie. The thing won, but it's only a matter of time until it thaws out. When Bennings is shot, MacReady runs over to him and hands him the bottle of J&B. And it's only 40 proof, so does Bennings take any heed to the spit that got on his hand? He rubs it all over to the J&B, and then it runs to his mouth, which then runs to Mac's mouth later in the movie. So why is it, even though Bennings at this point has become a thing, that he doesn't actually protect his parent thing, the dog? Instead, he says, lock this mud up with the others. I can't stand to see it. And he's the only one scared of the dog. He felt it brush past him and he goes, oh God. So why exactly would he want his parent to be locked up, quarantined? At the end of the movie, when Blair almost half reverts back to the dog, is it almost trying to say, hey, why are you doing this? Can't we just be together? I mean, shouldn't we be assimilating? If you don't want to assimilate, then you'll fucking die. Well, fuck you too. We always hear people say, oh, but who could have done that? And where were you? We hear that a lot from him. But who does that at the end? MacReady. He says the exact same line that is said to Childs. Where were you? I can tell you where I was. I was out there becoming the thing, baby. Because Blair was never up there. He was never... Look at this. He went out the front door. Blair blew up the generator, then went out through the mines so that he can get Gary and he can get Knowles, and so that he can try and meet back up with MacReady. Also, why do people think gasoline needs to be in a Molotov cocktail for it to be a Molotov cocktail? You know, they're just made with enough alcohol to actually create an explosion. So, even if we're implying that that alcohol was strong enough to kill bacteria, it doesn't need to be gasoline for Childs to drink it. Oh, thanks for the thingification. Great job. Also, even though MacReady just sees Fuchs, and he's also basically inside of the same wing, why is it, he asks, who did it? Who took out the fuse? It's been an hour. Anyone of us could have done it. I'm pretty sure that's just the biggest hint that we get to say that MacReady is always in the right place at the right time. Oh, did I just miss Fuchs getting trapped and how Fuchs should have told us to be a little bit more careful about who we share our drinks with? Because by the end of the movie, what does he do but share drinks? Gets Childs alone, gets Blair alone, gets everyone alone, all so that he can take over. That seems like the biggest to me. That's huge when it comes to evidence. If we see Jean Jacket over here making the same mistakes, and of all of us going, wow, I can't believe I didn't see it sooner, then what exactly keeps us from seeing it in MacReady other than the fact that we really like him and that he is relatable even though he might be a thing? Even Childs isn't relatable, and that's why he's othered throughout the entire movie. MacReady saying, I'll show you what I already know, and then placing the hot brass inside of his blood. Now, I'm not saying that the thing could choose to actually unreplicate itself and then let itself die because every cell is unique. But what if the person who got to the blood bank was Mac? Because he knew that the test that Dr. Blair would actually, or that the doctor would actually try and impose, was one that was more blood-based. So what if, when Windows drops his keys, what if Mac was the one to get them after they had all gone after Fuchs? What if he saw them on the floor? What if Windows had forgotten? And what if someone had just replaced them where they should have belonged? Well, then that would prove it, wouldn't it? Even at the end, It really seems like McCready, when he gets that bottle, he does a side eye. He goes, "Are you going to take my drink? Did you hear this from Fuchs? Was I the only one that he trusted?" And it's why at the end, once he takes a sip, McCready laughs. He's won. He's finally actually done it. There's no more enemies. As he said, once they've all burned the infected blood packets, right? Even then, did he burn them? For what reason? Are they actually infected with thing blood, or is it he's trying to hide evidence? Well, at the end, again, it's confirmed when he laughs. Because even though all the different versions they did, it all came back to this. Because what Fuchs told him in the beginning had to come to fruition in the end. We even see Dr. Blair eat his own meals, but when's the one time it gets shared? Only after morphine's been put into his blood. He's high, he has no idea what's going on. He doesn't realize that he sealed his own fate by letting McCready drink from his bottle. Same way with Childs drinking from Mac's bottle. It's all connected, and it all comes together. Just to mark up any little plot holes, what about the time that McCready listens back to his message? He goes, "Nobody can trust each other anymore." He listens back, and he records over it, and he says, "I just hope that we can all make it out of here." It's almost like he's trying to displace trust. He's not trying to accidentally show himself off to be dangerous or anyone else to be dangerous, because if someone else finds that message, it's almost like that would damn them to being a thing. How about when McCready is holding his flamethrower towards the Norris thing, and the only time he actually shoots it is when it finally looks at him? You could say that he had a Windows moment, but everything we've seen from McCready's at this point, he doesn't have a concussion, his head isn't bandaged, he knows exactly what he's doing, he's observing the thing. I mean, why else does he observe the spider head that comes out from Norris? He wants to learn what his body can do before he's forced into doing it. And if anything, you can see that his face turns to anger whenever he has to actually finish the thing off. He realizes that if I'm going to turn into the thing, then I'll probably be like this. So I can't let myself be like this because there's no coming back from it. And how about during the blood test thing where he says, "I got an idea. I think every cell is trying to live." But at what point during the Norris thing scene do we actually see any cellular regrowth or even just the cells being alive other than a chest cavity opens? What we really see is McCready is cradling a frozen hand. He keeps trying to regain circulation in it because he knows that some of his cells are dying in there. That's the only cellular death going on. And if anything, maybe he's angry that he was forced to have some of his cells die, but he kept it together. In the same way that him taking from the blood bank can just be explained by, well, he had all the power, and he had all the time to roam around after Windows had chucked the keys when he saw Bennings' thing being turned into another thing. And finally, I believe Bennings was actually a thing before the dead thing came back to reclaim it. I only say this because for Bennings to actually get absorbed, it took way longer than it takes for Blair to take in Gary. Or even Knowles. It takes seconds for the both of them. But for Blair, it's almost like the cells are fighting back. And only once they realize they're in danger do they combine, trying their best to become a thing. And it's almost like he doesn't know how to act like a human anymore. His hands aren't forming back into hands. They're just tentacles. It's almost like this dead thing has been dead too long that it doesn't know how to interact with other humans. And the Bennings thing almost got overwritten by that. And to really nail down this coffin, have you actually looked at McCready's face whenever anyone tells him that you sociopath, you psychopath, you killed somebody, oh, we can't burn Bennings, I've known him my entire life. All of these things, Mac just looks them in the face, a stone-cold glare, and he goes, with pragmatism, we have to do what must be done. Because this thing doesn't want to share. If these things are going to change, says MacReady, then I have to kill them. What we're really supposed to do is hold down the fort until we get to the mainland. I'm going to kill these things because they showed their hand too early. They went off half-cocked. And what about that personifies Mac? We see Mac be so uneven-keeled, he doesn't even know how to process getting shot at. He dives. He's still holding his drink because that's his coping mechanism. So, what exactly makes Mac the unfortunate hardened badass? Because he's seen some UFO and something that had broken out of the ice? I just don't believe that he can change that fast. Sure, anyone can rise to meet an occasion if they want, but what exactly is he doing in this situation that has made him rise to it? Nothing has happened yet. Even the UFOs and all the rest, nothing happens until the dog decides to eat the other dogs because it's been put in quarantine, to become the master of its domicile, aka win the chess game, but not get back to the mainland. So what if MacReady thing is thinking way more long term? It's thinking about how it can get to the mainland. That's winning. Everything else is secondary. What does Fuchs find before he's burnt to death but R.J. MacReady's torn piece of cloth that then ends up stuffed in a hidden place inside of a furnace into the only place Mac can get to, where the Mac thing thinks that's safe. No one else goes in there. But the one time he lets someone else in there, they find what he had dreaded. And thankfully, there's enough action and suspicion thrown on everything else that he doesn't even have to acknowledge that again once Knowles finds it. Sure, the rest of the crew might still think he's, out there. He might be the thing, but the blood test puts everyone else at ease. And that's why MacReady says, I'm going to show you what I already know. Otherwise, what would be the whole point of becoming the master of the situation so that he could not show anyone else what happened, or if he cut himself, or even the blood bag? Because even they cut out him cutting himself. Maybe because it was too long. Maybe because there was a very specific ambiguity they were trying to place in that scene. Let's talk about as soon as MacReady says, I'm going to take her up. I'm going to the Norwegian base. We're going to figure out what happened. Knowles says, is Mac really taking it up? He's an alcoholic, and he's been drinking the entire day. Of course my man usually doesn't fly. Even then, with Fuchs going outside finding R.J. MacReady's back of his shirt, and that somehow not being burned up with the rest of Fuchs, which implies that someone took it from him, burnt him, and then, right after, MacReady just so happens to come back an hour later and say, the lights were off in the lab for about an hour. Who could have done it? It could have been any one of us. Alright, you all have a good one. I've been Ryoshi. Love y'all. Bye.